Yeah, then welcome to this month's Trader Connect webinar. For those who are new, as we give a few minutes for more people to arrive, Trader Connect, this is a webinar we have every month. It's basically just a way for you to, if there are any trades you want to have a look at, you share them with me, I give you my opinion, I do some technical analysis on them. And yeah, we just share, and hopefully we can give you some good trading tips, trading ideas while we're at it. Okay. So I still see some people coming in, so I'll just go through the usual steps at the beginning while we wait for everyone to arrive. Who are we and why should you listen to us? Rand Swiss. We are predominantly, a stockbroking firm, but we have many different services. We have treasury service, we have wealth service, and all those kind of things. But most importantly, we have won many different awards over the years for our services. And these are some of those awards you can see. We were rated the best in the country, 2019, 2021. And it's, when you look at these awards, it's big companies we're going up against. I mean, we're going up against Standard Bank, we're going up against Momentum, we're going up against Easy Equities, we're going up against FNB. So we have to compete against big companies here to get these awards. And we have now been rated the best in the country twice, including the previous year, 2021. We hope to do so again this year. 2019, we also got the top advice broker. People enjoy the research we give them. 2019, 2021, we got the People's Choice Awards. So that's very important for us, because with a lot of these awards, like the people who do these stockbroker awards, Intellidex and Investors Monthly, Financial Mail, they kind of, for a lot of these awards, they look at what the clients say, but then they also do their own research and then they combine the two. But for People's Choice Award, that is all the clients. The Intellidex doesn't have anything to say with that. That's entirely what the clients have to say. And the clients have given us this award 2 years now. So we're very proud of that and very happy of getting the reward. As at Rand Swiss, we always take our service very seriously. We always strive to give you a good service, regardless if how big your account is, or if you're just an online client or a private broker client. We always strive to give you the best possible service. Okay, then 2020, we also were rated the top online broker. And then 2020 and last year, we also got rated for having the best tax-free savings account. Okay, what do we do? So you just heard me speak about online trading and private broking. There is, of course, a bit of a difference there. Online trading is a very low-touch service. We just give you the account, you manage it yourself. Plain and simple. We just give you the platform, you log in, you go and buy and sell, decide for yourself which shares you want to buy and sell. Private broking, not so much. Private broking, very similar to online trading, with one big difference being you can ask us for advice. You can ask us for guidance. You don't have to manage the account yourself. You don't have to build your own portfolio. We are there to guide you, to help you, advise you to what we think are good and bad shares. You can come to us for shares. We can give you opinions on that and so on. Managed portfolio, very straightforward, very simple. You just give us a certain money and you say, guys, just manage it. I'm not going to log into the account. I'm not going to buy shares. You guys do all of that for me. Build me a portfolio, manage it for me. Structured products, or structured notes, as many people know them as well. These are very like fixed term investments. They're usually based on the performance of an index. So for instance, you can get a structured product on the S&P 500 or on the JSE Top 40, the FTSE 100 and so on. And then this product, it kind of gets, you get the auto calls and then you get the ones that are not auto calls, but basically they're usually between 3.5 years to 5 years. And they give you kind of like a fixed return on what the index will do. So say, for instance, the note says, if the top 40 is positive by end of year 3 by only 1%, or 0.01%, we will give you 40 or 50%, even if the index has only done 0.01%. And they usually also come with capital protection, which a lot of people like. So many of them usually come with about 30% capital protection. So you make the investment. If the index is negative at the end of the investment, but it's negative by less than 30%, you get 100% of your capital back. So you don't lose out. You get 100% of capital, you only lose out to inflation, basically, if it goes negative. Okay, offshore transfer, that's the treasury business I spoke about. Currency conversions, offshore payments, you have an offshore bank account, you have an offshore stockbroking account. You would like us to convert your rands to dollars, pounds, euros, whatever, and send it out of the country for you. We can happily assist, even if your stockbroking account is not with us. Like, for instance, we have many clients who make use of our treasury service, even though they have offshore accounts with different brokers. But just because we give them such a good deal on the currency conversions, they do it via us, and then we just pay it over to the other broker's account. Wealth management, RAs, living annuities, financial planning, those kind of things. Tax-free savings account, 36K a year, you put into a tax-free savings account, any capital growth on that is tax-free. So that's a very, very powerful tool if you're doing long-term investing. Putting 36K every year into your account, you leave it 20, 30 years, you can get a lot of growth on the market. And it's all tax-free. So that's a very, very powerful tool to have. Okay, and these are just some of our partners. You'll see a lot of media here because we, Gary and Verve especially, they do a lot of media appearances. So you'll often see them on SABC or CNBC or Business Day TV, ETV News, a lot of radio, 702. So yeah, they do a lot of media. And then here are some of our platform providers. Actually, if you come to this webinar, you'll know by now. These are the two main platforms we look at in this webinar, Trader Connect webinar. But naturally, we have other platforms as well. So we work with Momentum as well. Swiss Quote is one of our offshore providers. We work with many, many different platform providers. It's very dependent on what are your needs, what are you looking to achieve, how much functionality do you want in the platform, how often are you going to trade, and all those kind of things. It kind of plays into what platform we will advise you use. But majority of our clients are on one of these two platforms, so we'll have a look at them today. Just once again, a reminder, these are not recommendations. It's always, I'm going to do this little disclaimer at the beginning. We are going to look at some charts. We're going to look at some trades. I want to put some indicators on there. And I'm going to tell you, well, okay, based on all these indicators, based on what I'm seeing in this chart right now, this looks like it's a buy, or this looks like it's maybe a short. But they are only ideas. They are only my opinion. So please trade using your own discretion. Don't by default think just because I'm now saying here, oh, this looks like a buy, that you should run out and go buy these shares. I'm not saying that. This is just my opinion. Do a bit of your own analysis, and then you can take it from there. Okay. So I see some people already putting some stuff in the list. I'll get to them. I'm just going to start with the usual stuff, which people always want to have a look at. But yeah, if you want anything specific, just put it in the chat, local or offshore. I'm going to look at both of them. It doesn't matter. So if you want to look at American stock, European stock, UK stock, South African stock, just put it on the list. Initially, we're just going to look at the South African stuff because I'm going to use Velocity Trader. So Velocity Trader is predominantly just local stuff with some Forex and commodities. So we'll look at some Forex commodities too. And then once I'm done, I'm going to move to DMA. And that's the offshore platform. And then I'm going to start looking at some offshore stuff. But you're more than welcome to start putting them on the list. Okay, let's analyze your trades. Let me just quickly switch here. Okay, Velocity Trader. At the moment, I'm at first round. I was actually doing some analysis for a different client. So I can tell you actually what I told him. We can just start with first rand before we move on to something else. So here you go, first rand. Sorry, I went the wrong way here. Where was it now yesterday? So first rand, so basically, is it good to open a long position? Because a lot of people will think these the zero numbers, they tend to have a very like psychological effect on the market. A lot of people open and close positions at these like very round numbers. So is 70 a good place to go long? So we can see there. So if we go by this bit here, so it did find resistance again. So we can say this will can act. It very briefly did. So this can be an area of support and resistance. Again, it's right exactly at the round number at 70. But I like to always think when I look when I talk about resistance and support, it's never like an exact number. It's more like a general area. And for me, on first rand at the moment, this looks like that area. So is this a good place to go long? And to be honest with you, it's right at support. So this is not a completely horrible place to go long. But what I would say though is if I were to go long on first rand at the moment, I open a position here, I would probably not buy all the shares at this moment. I would like take a bite at the current level. But as I can see, there's like this whole area of support resistance. So it can very easily go all the way back down to 668. So that's why I'll just take a little nibble at the moment. I'll buy some of the shares. I'll keep some of my cash on the sidelines just in case it drops. And then again, at like maybe 69, I'll put in the rest of the money. But yeah, so that's just something, a quick little thing on first rand. Let's just quickly go start at the usual. So this is something else. USDs are. So one thing I've noticed about the rand dollar is, yes, it has these moments where it spikes up and down, but a lot of the time it gets in a range. If you look at rand dollar at the moment, for me, it looks like it's in a range. So with a bottom there and the top, I just go on that up and the top there. Okay, I'm just going to do a little bit more visible. So I think this is the range that the rand dollar is going to be in for a while, for a few weeks. If I'm correct, then this is looking like this could possibly be a good position to open a long position on the rand dollar. You open a long position here, you aim to take profit close to 1480. And then if it sticks to this range, you just flip your position, you go short, take profit 40, and you trade this range. Now, of course, I can't definitely say this range. I mean, there's not a lot of data. It's only like these 2 points to work with. But it seems to me, I think this is going to be the range for the USD ZAR for a few weeks. We're just going to be bounced between 1440 and 1480. What we can do, though, and I'm pretty sure what we might see now, okay. So what are we seeing from here, though? I mean, if you attend this webinar, you should be well versed in divergence by now, bullish and bearish divergence. There is what we call the bullish divergence. What do I mean by that? If we look at the chart, it's reaching the same levels, the same lows. But if we look at the indicator, we are not seeing the same thing happening. There's a low, but this low is much, well, let's not say much, but it's higher than the previous low. So this is a bullish divergence that is telling you, oh, wait, we can expect some bullishness going forward, which could be true. So that's another indicator. Hey, maybe I should have a long position. Where will I put my stop loss? Well, I mean, this is the range. So if it goes way below this range, I'll probably think, well, okay, it's definitely not going to this range. So I'll probably put my stop loss at 14.40. I'll put it at like 14.25. It is way down, but I mean, I think you need to remember that the rand dollar currency pair is a very, very volatile currency pair. I mean, look here on this day alone, it did 14.98 all the way up to 15.26. And that's a 8-cent move. So it's very easy for the rand to go down all this way and then come right back up again. So when you trade the rand, you probably want to be using wide-ish stop losses to prevent yourself from being kicked out. So if I were to open a position around here, 14.47 to 14.40, I'll probably put the stop loss 14.20, 14.25. Yeah, put that stop loss, aim to take profit at 14.80. That's also an interesting thing to note, though. I mean, we spoke earlier about our treasury service and offshore payments. So that's also something to keep in mind. If you are looking to buy dollars at the moment, if you're looking to send money out of the country, now it looks like it might be a good level to do so. Okay, then last time we spoke about Brent. And if you remember, there was this little flag pattern. Or, well, yeah. So that's the flagpole. And then it did, in fact, or I think we had a look at a triangle pattern, sorry, but yeah, either way, it did come back down, and now Brent is going back up. Let's put a little trend line here. So that looks like the trend at the moment. If it holds, so that's your resistance line at the moment. The question is, will this hold? I mean, it did make a lower high, and it came back down. So it does look like maybe Brent the trend has changed a bit. It's going down, but it seems like it is finding support at the same level the whole time. At about $100. Again, it goes back to that, what I said. For some reason, these round numbers are just like these very psychological levels where people start piling in and selling and so on. So this is what's called a descending triangle. Now, a lot of people will have you believe like, oh, it's a bullish pattern. So basically what they're saying is it's going to trend down, 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 and eventually it's going to break this and it's going to go back up again. But if I have to be honest, in my experience, it could go either way. You need to keep an eye on both resistance and support. So Brent is very much moving towards a very pivotal part because it's going to run out of space. And it's going to have to break one of these levels. It's either going to have to break resistance or it's going to have to break support. And that's what's probably going to tell you which direction Brent will be heading. So it's definitely a bit of a wait and see moment for Brent. It's a type of moment where I can't say, oh, you should go long, you should go short. But you got to see, you got to wait and see what's happening. Which line is going to break first? Is it going to be resistance or is it going to be support? At the moment, it's trending down. But again, oil itself is also very volatile. I mean, just look at this massive red candle. The trend can change so easily on oil, on Brent. It does not take much for it to happen. I mean, you got the war in Ukraine and suddenly oil spikes, and then you get the COVID outbreak in Shanghai, China, and suddenly oil drops again. So it's very bold. The trend can very quickly change. But yeah, from technical analysis point of view, it's about keeping an eye on this space here to see what happens. Okay, the final one I'm going to have a look at before I start looking at those. Gold, what's gold doing? Okay, gold had a nice little support there at 1920. And now we have seen gold spike, which shouldn't be too big of a surprise because many people see gold as an inflation hedge. And if you watch news, you'll see that in America, inflation came out at, I think it was 8.5%, which is the highest inflation number since like 1981. I mean, it's a massive inflation number for America. Well, and quite frankly, not just America. I mean, if you have to be honest, for any developed nation. For South Africa, I know we're used to our like band of, I think, between 4 and 6%, but historically, inflation in America and Europe has been like 1% or less. So for it to suddenly be 8.5% is a big number for them. So yeah, I'm not too shocked to see oil. So this number came out yesterday, and actually you saw that spike in gold, and then it came down a bit. But yeah, now the spike continues because people are buying gold. They're buying it as an inflation hedge. And yeah, there you can see there was the channel. And it has now broken that channel. So that's another nice little bullish signal. Let's put, what does the MACD tell us? Okay, MACD, not anything too horribly. So for those who remember, if you're above zero, you're in bullish territory. If you're below zero, you're in bearish territory. Although there's more to it, it's also the line, because this is a trend indicator. So the line is also trying to tell you what the current trend is. The thing is, okay, well, that come down a bit, and now it's turning back up. So that's also looking bullish for gold. So things are looking very good for gold at the moment. If you have any questions about what I'm talking about, by any means, just put it in the chat, put it in the questions. You don't only have to put stocks. If you have any questions or queries, please let me know. But okay, first one, Amplats. Sorry. There we go. Okay, Anglo-American Platinum, Amplats. What's going on here? Let's have a look. Okay, so right there, the first thing, I mean, we can almost immediately see this little area here. So between 1950 and 1850. So that 100 Rand area there, that's a like little area of support and resistance. Amplats came down and it tested exactly the bottom of that range. And now it's starting to recover. So that's not bad looking. Let's put our MACD on. Okay. Now I'm sure nobody's surprised this line is trending down if you look at the chart, but it has turned back up. However, it is below zero. So that is a bit of a bearish signal, although the line has turned up. So that is good. That is looking somewhat bullish. Let's check the relative strength index. Okay, so relative strength index, it's kind of giving me a similar reading as the MACD, because even though the MACD was below zero, it wasn't that far below zero. It was pretty much in the middle. And on the relative strength index, I mean, it could not be any more in the middle. It's 50.1. It is in the middle. For those who are not aware, you want above 50 is bullish, below 50 is bearish, below 30 is oversold, so that's bullish again. Above 70 is overbought, that's bearish again. But between 50 and 70, it is bullish. And right now, I mean, yes, it's by 0.1, it's above 50. It's not those bullish signals. But it does tell me it has turned, at least it's trending up. So that's also looking somewhat bullish for Amplats. We can check what's this one telling us? Ooh, this one is a little bit more bearish. So the leading indicator, the cloud, is red. So naturally the cloud is predicting that Amplats will continue to fall. Your short-term moving average is way below your medium-term moving average. That's very bearish. And then your lagging indicator is below where price was 26 days ago. So that's also very bearish. So suddenly it's telling a different story from the other indicators. And if you remember, I've spoken about this before, the border of the clouds, they can also kind of act as resistance. So what you might see, like kind of like there. It came back, it touched, and then it rose and rose, and then it bounced up. So these borders can act as support and resistance. So what we might see on Amplats is it might in fact go up, but then it finds resistance, and then it starts to come back down again. Okay, so it's that's a difficult one. I mean, initially things looked a bit bullish for Amplats, but the moment I put the Ichimoku indicator on, suddenly it started getting like a lot of bearish stuff. But again, this is all about interpretation. So just because one indicator suddenly says, oh, no, wait, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. I mean, take all these indicators into account and then come up with an opinion. Well, okay, yes, this one says this, but I'm getting a lot of bullish signals here. And then you can base your trade off that. Okay. Let's see, next, Shoprite. Okay, Shoprite, kind of like a different story now. It's looking somewhat bullish, like nice big green cloud, short-term moving average above medium term. Yes, fair enough. There's not that much of a difference, but there's something here. What we don't want to see though is this lagging indicator starting to move in between price. That is not bearish, but it's not bullish either. It's kind of telling you, at the moment, there's no direction. And I mean, if you have to be honest, you look at Shoprite since, well, let's go back to about here. Since February, okay, let's go back. Yeah, fine, let's go here. Since the beginning of March, it's not really been doing much. It's just been moving sideways. There was a nice little break. So this was resistance. There, about their support. So it was in the channel, did break it, but this is what is called a false breakout. So this would have been a nice thing. Oh, it's broken, the resistance is broken out of channel, let me buy. And then what happened? Came back, and now it's back in range again. It's pretty much the same thing that happened there. Fell below the range, was a false breakout. It just came right back up again. So yeah, even though I'm getting, well, I would rather, let's say this, I'm not getting a lot of bullish signals. The only big bullish signal is this cloud here. That's somewhat bullish, but it's not that big of a difference between the moving averages. And then this is starting to move in between. So this is not bullish or bearish. Let's see if we can get another indicator to tell us something. Like I said, the MACD is a good trend indicator. And what's it telling us? Not good. Immediately, what can we see? A big bearish divergence. I won't stress too much about this at the moment, because first of all, like you've heard me say many times, these divergences, they're not always 100% perfect. They're not like foolproof and stuff. And this is a good example where I would probably not pay too much attention to it, because when you see a stock moving sideways like this, you will very often see these divergences. Like right here, there you can see. Shoprite went sideways. What do we see? Big divergence, and then it proceeded to go up anyway. So yeah, I wouldn't pay too much attention to this. When you see like sideways movements, it kind of like, it kills the divergence for me. If you see it go up and then down and then up again, and then you see a divergence, different story. But when it's just going sideways like this and you see a divergence, it's probably not the biggest thing to worry about. Let's see. Let's try another one, commodity channel index. Okay, very similar to the RSI, relative strength index. You have your bullish areas and then you have your oversold areas and bearish areas, overbought, the bearish areas and your oversold areas. So yeah, it's pretty much a zero. I mean, if you go to the candle, what reading I had? -2. So it's just dropped below zero. It's just gone bearish. Probably not the biggest thing. What I will probably say, if it was my call, put a gun to me and say, okay, what do I do here with Shoprite? I would probably most likely open a short position. I mean, it looks like it's like it wants to stick to this range. Tried to break out, came right back in. So maybe open a short position. Wait for this 10 Rand move. And then put my stop loss just slightly above where it was before. So what was the high there? The high was 247. So maybe put it at like 248.50. That's where you put your stop loss. And then you take profit when it gets down to 225. Okay, MTN. So I just want to delete these things. Okay, MTN. I'm sure you all heard about that whole issue with the SIM cards in Nigeria. Nigeria has a similar thing to South Africa with RICA. We have to provide like ID and proof of residence when you get a SIM card. But not all Nigerians were RICA. I'm using RICA now from South African sense. It's called something else in Nigeria. And basically the government said, okay, if a SIM card isn't RICA, you need to cut them off. And apparently a big chunk of MTN SIM cards in Nigeria have not gone through that process. They might have to cut them off, big loss of revenue. So there were some issues with MTN and the share price fell. But right now, it fell right to that there. This little area of support resistance between 172.50 and let's say 180. Okay. Fell right to the bottom of the range and it came back up. CCI, it is bearish. So that's a little worrisome. Let's try, see if the RSI is telling us that it's bearish as well. Yep, RSI bearish as well. I mean, 45 just dipped below 50. So RSI is also telling it's bearish. Because initially I wanted to say maybe this is a good spot to open a long position. So this is right here at support. But maybe not, because I mean, two indicators now have given us bearish reading. MACD. Naturally. See, this is a good example. This is a good example of a divergence. So there, flat, no new high created, but yet on the chart, new high was created. And then divergence called it. It did in fact drop, came back about, dropped down again. So that just shows how powerful these divergences can be. Again, going back, they're not always correct. You have to take everything into account, like the previous chart I showed you, where if it's moving sideways, then I don't know. The divergences are not quite as trustworthy. And sometimes, even if they go up and they give you divergence, they're not always 100% correct. But very often I've found these divergences to be very good at indicating, be careful, you might be seeing a change in trend. Okay, but now going back. MACD also saying MTN, and the line's going down, bearish. It's below zero, bearish. And then I guess something I don't often talk about is these green lines, the histogram. Basically, the histogram is just showing how big is the difference between the blue line and the red line. Because the red line is basically just a moving average of the blue line. So the bigger this histogram line, the bigger the gap between the lines, basically it's telling you the stronger the trend. Or well, let's not say stronger, but the more momentum the trend has. Okay. So, but yeah, so there's a bit of a gap there. I mean, gaps aren't always that big. It can be, but there's a bit of a gap there. But again, nevertheless, one more bearish reading on MTN. Let's try the final one. Again, bearish. So I'm going to remove this. Sorry, it's in the way. That cloud has just gone red. It just started predicting bearish future for MTN. MTN has dropped below the cloud. Another bearish sign. As you can see, what's happening here? It's finding resistance at the border of this cloud. Short-term moving average. By the way, these moving averages can also sometimes act as support and resistance. But anyway, well below your medium-term moving average, and then finally your lagging indicator has dropped below price. So I'm getting a lot of bearish readings on MTN at the moment. So that does look like MTN is looking more of a short to me than a long. Okay. Okay, then someone wants to have a look at Naspers. Okay, what's going on with Naspers? Well, I think the issue with Naspers is that little 10-cent investment that used to be such a cash cow for them has now turned out to be, oh well, let's say, become a bit of a poison pill for them. I mean, Naspers gets the majority of its value from 10 cent. Even though they have a lot of other investments and they're trying to change that, they've not been very successful with it. And their share price is still heavily affected by what happens to 10 cent. And as we all know, not so, just I can't remember, was it last year or was it the year before? But basically, the Chinese government has started clamping down on these tech companies. They thought they were becoming too powerful. And as a result, we've just been seeing Naspers drop. So that's pretty much what's been going on with Naspers. I would have expected a bit of a bounce more recently because the Chinese government has started issuing licensing games again. So it's basically, if you're a game developer in the US or Europe, you develop a game, you take it to the market, you sell it. In China, not so much. You first have to get the game licensed by the regulatory authority in China. And one of the ways they started clamping down on these tech firms, like Tencent, which is a big gaming company, was they stopped issuing new licenses. So Tencent couldn't release new games. This week, or was it last week? Sorry, it might have been last week, that regulator started issuing licenses again, which was good news for Tencent. And I would have thought Naspers would see some improvement. Maybe it was around here, I can't remember. Initially it did. I think the other thing that's weighing on the share price though is that high inflation number I spoke about earlier in America. So basically, Naspers essentially 10-cent tech stock. They're growth companies. And growth companies do well in low inflationary environments, because growth companies are all about future income. What money are you going to give me 5, 10 years down the line? That's the promise of growth. Oh, we're not going to give you all that much money now, but 5, 10 years down the line, we're going to make a lot of money. We're going to grow. We're going to make a lot of money. So that future earnings is very important for the current valuation of a growth stock. But if inflation is high, then suddenly, I mean, we all know how inflation works. It devalues your future money. And for a growth company that's all about the future earnings, high inflationary numbers are not very good for them. So that high inflationary number environment is also probably not very good for Naspers share valuation, for the share price. But if you want to talk more about it, this is more of a technical analysis webinar. There is a webinar we do with Gary, he does his little global outlook, but that's more about fundamentals, if you want to talk about fundamentals around the stock. Okay, but I hope that answered your question about what's going on with Naspers. Okay, Richemont. Okay, what's happening with Richemont? Well, one thing that you can immediately put towards Richemont's share price not doing so well is a strong rand, because you have to remember Richemont makes the overwhelming majority of their revenue from outside South Africa. Companies that Richemont has invested in, they're all international. Cartier, those kind of companies, they're not South African companies. And they make a lot of their money in duty-free areas in airports around the world and so on. So most of Richemont's revenue, they receive in dollars. Now, naturally, if the rand strengthens, then you will see the Richemont share price come down a bit, because suddenly you're getting fewer rands for your dollars. So Richemont, that's why Richemont is known as a rand hedge. If the rand weakens, Richemont share price should do better, because suddenly now you're getting more dollars for your rands. Okay, but the rand has naturally been strengthening, so that can be a part of the reason why the Richemont share price have been coming down. Naturally, not the only reason, but that's one of the reasons. Okay, taking an analysis point of view though, broke through the cloud, bearish. Short-term moving average has just gone above medium-term moving average, so that's slightly bullish. Cloud, however, has not. So that's also something you look at, is when the cloud starts to narrow. That can also usually be a sign that this cloud is going to change, the trend is going to change. Not seeing this. In fact, it has recently started widening, so that's a bit bearish. However, this lagging indicator is just starting to move in between price, so that could mean that Richemont, as kind of this drop-off, has bottomed out, and now it's at the consolidation area. Let's just put it there. Yeah, let's rather use this. I'm gonna go here. I'll say about there. This little area here could act as support from now on. And you can see Richemont just being stuck in this channel. So let's put resistance up here. So between 195, 175, this channel. As Richemont decides whether, well, are we going up, are we going down, or are we staying stuck in this channel? If this, the fact that this yellow letter line, the lagging indicator, has started coming to price, is start coming like we might see a bit of sideways movements more before we see a trend change. But we can see again, this could be a good example. See again, same thing here. Seeing a nice divergence, you might go, oh, that's a nice bullish divergence. Maybe I should go long. Even though probably you should, because it's the bottom of the range, so there might be some move there. But still, remember what we said here. when a stock moves sideways, then it's very easy for a divergence to form. So always take divergence on the MACD, especially with a pinch of salt when you see a stock moving sideways like this, which is the case. Seems like Richemont is stuck in this range at the moment. So yeah, there's no real direction. Could possibly take a short. Let's go down 170 actually, 170 to 195. So if you can get in below 175, open long position, aim to take profit 195, and then you can put your stop loss. Probably I won't put it at 165. I'll probably put it at 162. Just to give it some room. So just below 175, 174, 173, you open your long position, put your stop loss at 162, take profit 195. That could be a 20+ rand move there, which would not be too bad. So I just want to check. Okay, so we kind of have not a lot of time. I'm going to look at one more local one, then we're going offshore because we're starting to run out of time. I know people want to look at some offshore stuff as well. So let's look at the Aussie. Okay, Aussie. I mean, the Aussie is basically just a futures contract on the top 40. I mean, it's the index. It's kind of like when you're making a play on the Aussie, you're making a play on South Africa, basically. You're making a play on emerging markets. And in a risky environment, like the market, or well, rather, let's say this, in a risk-averse, risk-off environment, emerging markets probably don't do the best. So that's why you could have seen here, people are a little scared with market right now, the Russia-Ukraine war, massive inflation numbers, which in turn, because this is also important to note, the massive inflation number, the likelihood of higher interest rates are also going to happen. You're going to see bigger interest rate hikes, and that is usually not good for stock markets, because that means when interest rates are higher, it means it's becoming more costly to fund operations, because a lot of these companies, naturally, they fund their operations through debt. So now suddenly they have to pay more interest on that debt, so they have to cut back on expansion and all those kind of things. So that's usually, you'll see on the day when they announce, oh, we're raising interest rates, or it's the news break that it's likely interest rates will be hiked. You'll see stock markets dropping. So that's probably one of the reasons why you're seeing a big drop today. That inflation number yesterday and yesterday as well. The peak inflation number, everyone's like, oh, the Fed is going to have to hike interest rates much faster than expected. And that's why you could see a drop in markets. Now, unfortunately, these Aussies, they're fixed term contracts. So there's not really a lot of data to work with just when they start, because a lot of these indicators, they need X amount of days to work with to give you data. So unfortunately, I can't put a lot of indicators on here, but yeah, that's what's happening with the Aussie. Okay, yeah, sorry, I can't look at everyone's shares there. I need to go start looking at offshore stuff. We have time to maybe look at 3 offshore stocks. Okay, so I'm just going to switch here. Okay, DMA, Saxo. For those who don't know, I say Saxo. Saxo is the international operation, the local office. Saxo South Africa, they operate under DMA, but they're still Saxo. You're still working with Saxo. Okay. Someone wants to have a look at Nvidia. Okay, Nvidia, actually not looking too horribly, if we have to be honest. rectangle, that's what I was looking for. Okay, so let's go all the way from here. It's a bit of a bigger one. But that seems, okay, I'm just going to fill it with a little more. Okay, so that looks like the area of support. And that's exactly where Nvidia is at the moment. So maybe not the worst time. If you want to go more recent, we can also just put a line here. So this 215 level seems to be holding. So it's maybe not the worst time to open a long position on Nvidia if you would like to do so. It's like right at support, long-term support, short-term support. It's not a bad level. You put on the Ichimoku. What's that one telling us? Okay. Yeah, I see it's kind of not the best. So yeah, this is a bullish cloud. This is the bearish one, and as you can see, if you zoom in a little bit, it has just switched to bearish. So that's not the best. There was a nice big difference between short term and long term. Seems like this one, yep, has just crossed as well. And here the lagging one is kind of moving in between. So looking at the Ichimoku indicator, it's not really giving me bearish or bullish. It's kind of telling me wait and see. So maybe, yeah, maybe wait and see before you open that position. Okay, Ford. What is Ford telling us? Also looking pretty bearish. Not, yeah, I mean pretty. It's not looking bullish at all. Like there's a nice big bearish cloud. It's been widening. I mean, it did narrow for a bit, but yeah, it's been widening again. Not the biggest difference between the short term and medium term moving average, but this one is below where price was 26 days ago. That's bearish as well. Let's see if we MACD. Okay. So MACD, there is a bit of a divergence. But again, it's one of those divergences where you have to be careful because, I mean, Ford was moving sideways. And like I said before, if you're moving sideways, it's very easy to get that divergence on the MACD. Yeah, so I don't know, Ford is looking more bearish than bullish for me. We can try another indicator. Now, see, same thing. There's the 50. It's not on oversold below 30. It's also bearish. So Ford is probably looking like more of a short than a long to me. If you're looking to buy Ford shares, if you're looking to invest in Ford, I would probably say wait. But again, just my opinion. But yeah, I'll probably see wait. You could probably get a better price in a not too distant future. Just looking at very, very bearish at the moment. Okay. Someone will have a look at Intel. Okay. What is this? I just want to check if there's multiple interested, multiple. Yeah, okay, this is the one. Okay, so what's Intel? Not doing well at all. And Intel hasn't been doing well for a long time because if you follow the semiconductor market, especially CPUs, Intel pretty much had a monopoly for a very long time, for about a decade. The biggest competition being AMD, and AMD just wasn't able to compete with Intel. So I think Intel had like 80+% market share, 90+ market share. But in the last 2 or 3 years, that has changed when AMD suddenly started releasing these Ryzen Epic CPUs, which just blew Intel out of the water. And Intel has since then been losing a lot of market share to AMD. They couldn't compete with AMD. The more recent 12th gen CPUs are more capable. They compete much better with the AMD ones. But for the past 3 years, they've just been losing so much market share. And that's why you would have noticed Intel losing a lot of its share price, as they've just been losing all this business to AMD. And it doesn't look like it's been getting any better, which is kind of ironic as well, because semiconductors, there's a big shortage of semiconductors. They're in very high demand. So Intel should be scooping it at the moment, raking it in. And yeah, it doesn't look good. Again, can come down to growth company tech stocks. Tech stocks, they're usually growth companies, high inflation environment, not good for them. But Intel just makes the product they make, the semiconductor is just used in everything. It's a very important product. So you would expect them to do a little bit better. But yeah, okay, enough about that. Lagging indicator, as we can see, moving in between price, no direction. It's been switching between bullish, bearish, bullish. So that's kind of not giving me much. Like it went up short term, went down again, it's closing back. So yeah, Intel doesn't look like it has much direction. It just looks like it's all over the place at the moment. So yeah, Intel is not looking the best for me. Someone wants to know, yes, a recording. Yes, this is being recorded. And this recording will be sent to everyone who signed up to the webinar. So yes, it will be made available for you. I'm not sure when. I would have said by the end of the week, but I know Friday is public holiday and Monday is public holiday. So by next week, you should have it. If you don't, just ask. But this will be recorded. This will be sent out to everyone. Okay, Intel, and then finally, last one we're going to have a look at. ARK, this ETF, very popular ETF. Again, it's very tech heavy though. It's very, so naturally, again, what do we see? ARK has not been doing so great. In a high inflationary environment, it goes back to that growth stock, tech stocks, speculative stocks, risk off, they tend to not do so well. So ARK has been falling. ARK Innovation Fund is the name. And there's another good example. Remember I said that the borders of the clouds can act as support and resistance, and there we can see it. It got there, resistance, yeah, okay, fine, it broke out a little bit, but false breakout again, resistance kept dropping. What we can say though, looks slightly bullish for them though, is the fact that this cloud is narrowing, so it could switch to bullish anytime. Not looking like there's much direction here. It's moving in between. So yeah, ARK also, but it looks like it might have bottomed out. Like it probably won't fall much further. If you can probably, I would say, if you can get in below 60, it's maybe not the worst time to open a long position. But yeah, I mean, that's just going off this Ichimoku win. Let's see what's the RSI back on. Yeah, see, it's still bearish, so it's probably wait and see. I'll probably, yeah, okay. Let's not say below 60. Let's say rather closer to 50. If you can get close to 50, it's probably not the worst place. I put the MACD, but again, because it's been moving sideways, I know it's just going to give it divergence again. But yeah, okay. That is ARK. And that's the webinar for today. Thank you for attending. We will have another one again. In case you forget, if you want to know when all our webinars will be, all you have to do is go to randswiss.com, click on events at the top, and then you'll get a list. It's empty now, but we'll add more as we go. This is definitely not the only webinars we've got planned for the year. Next one is this global market outlook. That's the one where I recommend you go if you have like fundamental questions. Then we have this immigration and your wealth. So this is where we're talking about doing these offshore payments, currency, planning for your immigration, all those kind of things. And then the next Trader Connect will be May 18th. But okay, that is the webinar. And I guess I'll see you guys next month on the 18th. Thank you for attending. And I look forward to seeing you guys again.